Yes, good afternoon. My name is Ed Vallejo. I'm working here on a book I'm writing. I'm writing for Americans Against Foreclosures. I've worked in banking for many years in Europe. I worked for Abbey National Bank, and then the United States. I've worked for Countrywide Home Loans. I'm sure you know them. I've also worked for Washington Mutual and then JP Morgan Chase. So I've been working on a story here that's, you know, very, very, very intricate and detailed, and it's the subject of foreclosures. Um, I've had experiences in Europe buying and selling property, same in the United States, and I've run into some big issues here as well, and it's very sad. But apparently, 20 million American families have lost their homes and are homeless. This is something for public administration to really look into. This is not normal. A family, usually in Europe, buys a flat, buys a home, and or they've had it in the family for hundreds of years, and they never considered selling it out of the family or doing anything like what's going on in the United States. But from what I understand, and I personally have been affected as well, you purchase a home with documents. Basically, you sign documents. You sign a note, a promissory note to repay an amount of money. You sign a deed of trust that basically states that, or a mortgage, I think it's called, that if you can't make all the payments, you fall behind, you try modifying the loan. If that doesn't work, well, then the lender has the ability to come anything. And this has become a big issue in the courts across the United States. I've come to understand that every state has their own civil code and procedures and such, but the federal codes seem to be uh, upheld across the United States. Anywhere from Hawaii to Alaska should be upheld. And basically, you're talking about certain acts that protect homeowners. You've got the Truth in Lending Act. You've got the RESPA, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. Then you have other stronger acts, which we call the False Claims Act, where actual homeowners and private individuals can represent. Now, this is all on a federal level. The book that I'm writing about right now is considering federal, not state laws and regulations, which there are many as well, regarding this foreclosure issue. But on the federal level, the laws regarding the rules of evidence are very, very important, and yet they're not being upheld. Apparently, what's happening is when American families fall behind, the first thing they do is to try to modify the loan. For some reason, A, B, or C, that we're still looking into, lenders either no longer own the loan, they've sold it to another lender, or for other reasons, the investors in these loans, well, they don't care to modify it. So then they're stuck. They're stuck with a payment, they're behind, they're in foreclosure, and they don't know what to do. So we've been looking at different options at Americans Against Foreclosures. And the best option for them, or our advice, is to go ahead and file what's called a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And basically what they do is the arrearage part, what they owe to the lender, is distributed out in 5 years, over 5 years, 60 payments. And they continue making the regular mortgage payment to the alleged lender. So at the end of the term of the 60 months, they're all caught up on the mortgage. There should be no foreclosure, no notices of default, no trustee sales, nothing. Everything should be clear, and the payments resume, and life is good. Now, what happens? I had a case, and I'm not an attorney, but I've worked in the banking sector long enough and I filed enough complaints and appeals that I know how to do it and what's going on. The average homeowner doesn't have this experience. He doesn't know what to do, but it's very simple. Your attorney files the bankruptcy, okay? And then everything is placed on what's called an automatic stay. So in other words, the situation stays the same as it was before. They can't foreclose on the property. Nothing's supposed to change. You make your payments to the U.S. trustee now, and the trustee makes sure to make the payments to the creditors. That's how it's supposed to work in theory. Now, what happens in the practice? In the practice is you make your payments in good faith to the trustee. They're sent off. You make them to your lender. They're sent off. And then the lender says he didn't receive it. They received them late, posts them late, posts the money in a suspense account, or doesn't even post the money at all. You send the money to the trustee. The trustee posts the payment, and every couple months they send you a letter saying, yes, we received the payment, you're current, or you're not current for A, B, or C. It's happened a couple of times now that the trustee says, well, you're not current, and you immediately file to lift the automatic stay, which means that now the creditor can foreclose against your property again. So all that money that you sent was useless. It didn't help you keep the stay on there. That's one scenario. Another one is the lender files for the lift of an automatic stay. It's called a motion. They file a motion to lift the automatic stay, and again, you're without protection. So this has to stop, because what's happening here is just a vicious circle where the homeowner is trying to protect his property, the lender's not giving in, and the trustee's making mistakes. And the lift of the stay goes through, and then they come back with what's called a trustee sale. They sell that document that they have, which is the mortgage, and the trustee, without any trial by jury or without any due process, I call it, any real due process, they transfer the title of the property to themselves, and in a month they evict you from your home with your family. And the whole system is rigged against the homeowner. The whole system is not working, and that's what the book is about. Let me just show you. We just published the first version of it, and it is called Foreclosure: The Fight of Your Life. And it is on Kindle. We're doing it for Americans Against Foreclosures, basically, to help them out with our experience. We have people that have been going through this for 10 years now, since 2008, basically, the financial crisis, and they're trying to help as much as they can. So please contact us. The website is Americans Against Foreclosure, AAF.news on the internet. We have a website. You can contact us through there. You can also contact us through Facebook. And you can also purchase this book to help yourself get a little bit more information of how the judicial system works, how you can file the bankruptcy, how you can appeal it. We have cases up in the Ninth Circuit in California. We have cases even filed before the Supreme Court in California. We have cases up to the United States Supreme Court as well for violations of constitutional rights and what have you. But first, buy this initial book to get a taste of what we're talking about here, what has happened. And a case that we are following very closely is one where a homeowner has looked through his documentation and has been able to get over all the initial hurdles that the lenders put in when a complaint is filed, and has gotten to discovery where he's actually been able to prove that there's two notes on, or two mortgages on his property by the same lender or different lenders. We don't know. That hasn't been established yet. But all we know is that the same document has somehow been forged. It's been robo-signed, which means somebody else has been signing on behalf of somebody else. But that's not the issue. The issue is they've been collecting twice with the same document. One document, the original note, was signed at closing, and then that note was taken to the insurer when they fell behind. They received their money, and then they sold a copy of that document, adding endorsements to it, to trusts or pools of trust, securitize it, they call it. And so they were receiving money from two different parties at the same time. Probably 50% of the mortgages have gone at origination. They were sold to Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae shares were at $80 a share back in 2008. Now they're down to $1 or $2. That difference was paid by the American homeowners and the American taxpayers in these TARP and bailouts that the government did. That money just disappeared. Millions and millions and billions and trillions of dollars just disappeared. Now it looks like the Attorney General is following the trails. They're investigating. Most of it went to Europe and other safe havens. Europe played with it for a while, and then they got rid of this ball of money, and it's just been dispersed to all these smaller trusts and accounts around the world. So there's another organization out there that I cooperate with. It's called Actions for Justice, AXJ, and they're investigating all this matter as well. They have a website, it's called axj.com as well, and axj.news. So be sure and follow us on these different websites, Americans Against Foreclosures and AXJ, and you'll start piecing this whole puzzle together, and it may be able to help you save your home and save your family from going into foreclosure and eventually being evicted and end up on the streets. 20 million homes have been lost. So if you need anything else, please contact us. My email is ed@axj.com. Feel free to send me an email anytime, and then check our websites. That's it for today, and please buy our books, and that helps us all keep going. We're all a nonprofit organization, so that'll help us put some money back into our websites and our system around the world to keep informing homeowners and citizens of what their rights are and what they can do about this unlawful and unfair situation. Thank you so much.